Greetings, dear subscribers and guests of our channel dedicated to ancient myths and legends. Today we once again immerse ourselves in the mysterious and majestic world of Norse mythology, rich with heroic tales, gods, wonders, and ancient rituals. At the center of our attention will be one of the most enigmatic and significant figures of this mythology. There is an ancient saying, "He who seeks wisdom must be willing to give up his most valuable possession for it." This very principle lies at the core of our hero's fate today. Although his appearance resembles an elder with a deeply wrinkled face, this does not make him weak or vulnerable. On the contrary, his maturity and age only enhance his power, highlighting the wealth of inner strength and depth of mind accumulated over the centuries. This god cannot be called an ordinary ruler. He is not only a bearer of strength and authority, but, above all, a symbol of wisdom and knowledge. His life is a journey toward universal understanding, toward the revelation of the mysteries of existence. Since ancient times, he has sought to comprehend the laws of the world, to understand its structure and the forces behind visible processes. For this great pursuit, he was willing to make any sacrifices, even self-sacrifice. This character willingly endured heavy trials, showing that knowledge is not an easy path and requires resilience and self-dedication. One of the most famous trials is connected to how he sacrificed his eye for a sip from the well of wisdom guarded by the giant Mimir. He also hung for 9 nights on the Yggdrasil tree, pierced by his own spear, to gain knowledge of the runes, ancient symbols capable of unveiling the great secrets of the universe. But his essence is revealed not only in trials. This god is endowed with cunning and the ability to influence the fate of the world. In one story, he tricked the giants and obtained the sacred mead of poetry, which grants the drinker the gift of eloquence and inspiration. Thanks to this, he shared with gods and men the ability to create words, poetry, art, and to influence the course of history. The Valkyries, mysterious warrior maidens, were his loyal allies. They did not just serve him, but also carried out his will, deciding the fate of warriors on the battlefield, gathering the fallen in Valhalla, the Hall of Fallen Heroes. These powerful warriors were always under his command, and their decisions determined the balance between life and death. His faithful companions animals played an essential role in his life. 2 ravens, Hugin, Thought, and Munin, Memory, flew daily around the world, gathering news and delivering it to their master. He was also always accompanied by 2 wolves, Geri and Freki, symbolizing his dominion over wild nature and his connection to primal forces. Today's hero is Odin, the great and wise ruler of Asgard, also known as the One-Eyed Sage. His life embodies wisdom, sacrifice, and strength. He is the epitome of the qualities that Norse warriors valued above all: the will to persevere, the pursuit of knowledge, and an untiring drive for life, despite hardships and trials. Odin is the central figure in the pantheon of ancient Norse gods, symbolizing wisdom, strength, and omniscience. His image is full of contrasts. He is not only the father and leader of the Aesir, but also the embodiment of ancient shamanic practices, a master of runes, and a keeper of ancient knowledge. As a god of war, Odin was the patron of warriors and represented victory and strategy on the battlefield. He was venerated by the aristocratic circles and warriors, as he was the one who welcomed them into Valhalla after death, and it was to him that the Valkyries, powerful warrior maidens who collected fallen heroes, were devoted. In battles, his name was invoked in prayers, as people believed that his power would help them defeat their enemies. However, Odin was not just a war god, he was also a great shapeshifter. This gift allowed him to change his appearance and play different roles in myths, highlighting his multifaceted nature. One of Odin's unique traits was his existence in 3 aspects simultaneously. In mythology, he was known as the High, the just as high, and the third emphasizing his layered personality and presence in all spheres of life. Sometimes he used the name Ik, although this nickname is rarely mentioned. The son of Asabur and the giantess Bestla, Odin was not the only child in his family. He had 2 brothers, Vili and Vi. Together, they committed one of the most important acts in Norse mythology, the slaying of the giant Ymir, the ancestor of giants. From Mir's body, they created the world inhabited by humans and brought to life many remarkable things and beings, thus creating the structure of the universe where gods and humans lived. Odin's only official wife in Norse mythology is the goddess Frigg, who is sometimes identified with Freyja. Frigg is not only the wife of the supreme god, she symbolizes love, family ties, domestic comfort, and fertility. In her union with Odin, she bore 3 sons, Baldur, Hodr, and Hermodr. Baldur, Odin's beloved son, embodied light and purity, Hodr the blind god of fate, and Hermodr played the role of the god's messenger, carrying out important tasks in both the world of the living and the dead. However, Odin's personal life was far from traditional monogamy. Despite his marriage to Frigg, he did not refrain from relationships with other women, resulting in many legendary offspring. One of the most famous among them was Thor, the mighty god of thunder and storms, protector of Asgard and Midgard. Thor was the son of Odin and the giantess Jord, symbolizing the earth. This union represented the connection between heavenly forces and the earthly element, making Thor a central figure among the Aesir. But the list of Odin's children does not end there. From his union with the eastern princess Rind, he had a son, Vali, who became the patron of nature and plants. Vali in Norse mythology is associated with rebirth and the cycle of life, emphasizing the diversity and multifaceted roles of Odin's children in the cosmic order. The son of Odin and the giantess Gridr was Vidar, known as the silent god of vengeance. He will play a significant role in the god's future, avenging his father during Ragnarok. Another famous son of Odin is Heimdall, the legendary guardian of Asgard, who is always alert to protect the world of the gods. He possesses the sharpest hearing and vision, making him an unparalleled guardian. Another well-known descendant of Odin is Tyr, the god embodying courage and warrior valor. The one-handed hero, who lost his hand in a struggle with Fenrir, was the son of Odin and a giantess whose name remains unknown. Tyr is a symbol of selflessness and bravery, qualities highly valued in Norse culture. Odin resided in Asgard, and his magnificent chambers were located in the palace of Valaskjalf. There he ruled over the world of the gods, seated on his high throne, Hlidskjalf. This throne allowed him to see everything happening in the world subject to his will. From this vantage point, the Allfather observed the lives of both gods and humans, controlling fates and events. In Asgard, Valhalla held a special place, the Hall of Fallen Warriors, where those who died honorably in battle gathered. Odin spent much time there among the Einherjar, brave warriors preparing for the final battle, and the Valkyries, who chose the worthy fallen from the battlefield. Valhalla was not only a resting place for warriors, but also a training ground where heroes honed their skills as they awaited Ragnarok, the ultimate battle between good and evil. The great Odin's gaze extended far beyond Asgard, and nothing could escape his attention. Every day at dawn, he sent his faithful companions two ravens, Hugin and Munin. Hugin, symbolizing thought, and Munin, representing memory, flew across the world to observe what was happening among gods and men. By evening, they would return to their master and, perching on his shoulders, shared all they had seen and heard. Through their reports, Odin gained a complete understanding of all events occurring across the 9 realms. But Odin was not only accompanied by his ravens. On some of his journeys, 2 wolves traveled by his side, Jerry, whose name means greedy, and Freki, voracious. These powerful beasts were Odin's loyal companions and symbolized his might and strength. Interestingly, Odin himself had no need for food like ordinary beings. His strength was sustained by a sacred drink, a honey nectar with divine properties. Though Odin rarely fought in battles personally, his role in warfare was exceptional. He was not just an observer but an inspirer and patron of warriors. His presence instilled courage and resolve in the hearts of fighters. Nevertheless, Odin possessed his own weapon, a powerful and legendary one. It symbolized his status not only as a god of wisdom, but also as a force capable of altering the outcomes of battles and the destinies of entire worlds. The legendary spear Gungnir, known for never missing its target, was forged by skillful dwarves in Svartalfheim. This weapon held incredible power. No shield or armor could withstand its blows, and any oath sworn upon it became unbreakable. Gungnir embodied Odin's might, his authority, and his ability to alter fates. Yet, even such a mighty spear will not save the Allfather on the fateful day of Ragnarok, when the wolf Fenrir will tear him apart with his monstrous jaws. Another powerful artifact belonging to Odin is the magical ring Draupnir. This mystical item was created by the dwarves Sindri and Brock and possessed unique properties. Every 9 nights it would produce 8 identical rings, symbolizing an endless cycle of abundance and wealth. When Odin wore a belt made from these rings, he became nearly invulnerable, highlighting his divine nature and connection to magical forces. In addition, Odin owned an 8-legged horse named Sleipnir, whose name could mean sliding or swift. This incredible steed was capable of covering vast distances and traveling between realms with incredible speed. Sleipnir symbolized not only strength and speed, but also Odin's ability to journey through different worlds, maintaining connections between them and observing everything that happened in each of the 9 realms. The legendary horse Sleipnir, possessing 8 legs and incredible speed, was born thanks to the cunning and trickery of the god Loki. Loki, taking the form of a mare, became the parent of this wondrous steed, sired by the powerful stallion Svadilfari. Thanks to this magical horse, Odin could travel between the 9 realms with remarkable swiftness, allowing him to maintain contact with each and keep an eye on all events occurring throughout creation. But Odin is known not only as the ruler of Asgard but also as a wise wanderer who roamed the world in search of knowledge. His thirst for universal wisdom never left him for a moment. Once, driven by this desire, he went to the head of the giant Mimir, located at the roots of the world tree Yggdrasil. Mimir was the keeper of the Well of Erd, whose waters granted those who drank from it the deepest insights into the past, present, and future. Odin asked Mimir to allow him to drink from this sacred well, but the giant, knowing the great power contained within this water, demanded something equally valuable in return. He proposed a deal to Odin, wisdom in exchange for an eye. Driven by his quest to understand the cosmos, the Lord of the Aesir did not hesitate to make this sacrifice, giving up his eye. This decision underscored his unquenchable thirst for knowledge, for a wise person can see more deeply with one eye than an ordinary mortal with 2. Since then, Odin gained inner vision, which opened to him not only the past but also the future. The fates of gods, humans, and all worlds became subject to his universal knowledge. Through this sacrifice, he gained access to wisdom that allowed him to rule not only Asgard but also the destinies of all beings in the universe. Mimir, having received Odin's eye as a pledge, placed it at the bottom of his well, where it began to shine like the moon. This eye became a symbol of the night light, while the one eye Odin retained came to be associated with the sun. Although the Allfather obtained the greatest wisdom he so desired, this new knowledge brought with it a deep sorrow. He now saw the future clearly, including the inevitable fate of the gods, even they could not escape their end. This understanding of the world's transience and the gods' destined fate weighed heavily on Odin, filling his soul with dark forebodings. Striving to confirm that he had indeed become the wisest being, Odin decided to visit the giant Vafthrûdnir, who was renowned for his undeniable wisdom. He sought to challenge Vafthrûdnir in an intellectual duel, where not only honor but also life itself was at stake. The loser would forfeit his head. On his wife Frigg's advice, Odin chose not to reveal his true identity. He took on the guise of a wanderer and introduced himself as Gungnir. In this disguise, he went to the giant to engage in a battle of minds. The contest began with questions from Vafthrûdnir. The giant started by asking Odin about the names of the horses that bring day and night, as well as about the river Iving, which separates the land of the gods from the realms of the Jotuns. With each question and answer, the wisdom and knowledge of both competitors became increasingly evident, but Odin, endowed with his new universal vision, managed to answer all of the giant's riddles. Vafthrûdnir asked Odin progressively more complex questions, including one about the field of Vigrid, the place where the final battle between gods and monsters would take place during Ragnarok. Odin, without hesitation, gave detailed and accurate answers, showcasing his profound wisdom. When the time came for the Allfather's turn to ask, he began to test Vafthrûdnir himself. Odin posed questions about how the sky and earth were created, the origins of the gods, and the deeds of heroes who spend their days in Valhalla. He asked about the Norns goddesses of fate and the rulers who would replace the Aesir after their fall. However, the true test came when Odin asked his final question. He leaned toward Vafthrûdnir and asked, "What words will the Allfather speak to his dead son Baldur as he lies on his funeral pyre?" This question proved fatal for the giant. Vafthrûdnir instantly realized that he was not facing a mere wanderer but Odin himself, for only the Allfather could know such a question. Realizing his mistake, the giant admitted defeat, as no one but Odin could answer it. Understanding that he had lost the contest of wisdom, Vafthrûdnir remained silent, knowing his fate was sealed. According to their agreement, he forfeited his head, paying for his arrogance, and acknowledging that Odin was indeed the greatest sage in all the worlds. After successfully passing the giant Vafthrûdnir's trials, Odin's thirst for wisdom did not wane. The great Aesir continued his wanderings, gazing into the endless night sky, studded with stars, seeking to understand the deepest mysteries of the universe. At one point, Odin disappeared from Asgard, deciding that to achieve ultimate knowledge, he needed to sacrifice the most valuable thing himself. In his quest for absolute understanding of the cosmos, Odin made the greatest sacrifice. He pierced himself with his spear and hung upside down on the branches of the world tree, Yggdrasil, for 9 days and nights. During this time he was surrounded by fierce winds blowing from all directions, testing his endurance and resilience. On the 10th morning, having exhausted his last strength, he fell from the height of the sacred tree, teetering on the edge of life and death. In this semi-conscious state, Odin noticed that 9 branches had fallen from Yggdrasil and formed a complex, mysterious pattern. Focusing on this pattern, he began to see hidden connections and realized that something extraordinarily important lay before him. In this intricate design, Odin identified 24 symbols, the runes. These symbols turned out to be the key to understanding the universe and its fundamental laws. Having gained the knowledge of the runes, Odin became not only the keeper but also the teacher of this great gift. He shared the runes with humanity, teaching them the arts of writing and magic. Through the runes, people gained the ability to discern the will of the gods, understand the essence of events around them, and even glimpse the future. The runes became a means to preserve secret knowledge, magical spells, and poems that could live on forever. But even after this greatest discovery, Odin did not stop his quest. His journey as a wise man and wanderer continued, for the pursuit of truth and understanding of the cosmos knows no bounds. There is a well-known myth about how Odin came into possession of the mead of poetry, a drink that grants inspiration and eloquence. After a long war between the Aesir and Vanir, when peace was finally established, the 2 divine clans decided to seal their agreement in an unusual way. They gathered the saliva of all participants and created a being named Kvasir. This dwarf was exceptionally wise and could resolve any disputes. However, his fate was tragic. Kvasir was killed by 2 cunning dwarves, Fjalar and Galar. Realizing the value of his wisdom, the killers collected Kvasir's blood and mixed it with honey, thereby creating a magical drink known as the mead of poetry. This drink granted the one who drank it not only eloquence but also the ability to compose poetry and create great works of art. Unable to resist, Fjalar and Galar shared this secret with a giant named Gilling, who was their guest. However, they soon realized they had said too much, and fearing that the giant would tell others, they decided to kill him. Gilling's son, Suttung, witnessed his father's murder by chance and decided to avenge the treacherous dwarves. To save themselves, Fjalar and Galar offered Suttung the magical mead in exchange for their lives. Suttung agreed and hid the mead of poetry in a cave guarded by his daughter. When Odin learned of this, he devised a cunning plan. Taking the form of a serpent, he entered the giant's dwelling, managed to deceive the guard, and obtained the coveted drink. This mead made Odin the god of poetry and inspiration, and since then, the art of speech has been his greatest gift to gods and men. The mead of poetry, which was hidden in the cave, was guarded by the giant's daughter, Gungnir. To acquire the magical drink, Odin used cunning and seduced the young giantess. Taking advantage of her trust, he took possession of all the supplies of the drink. Afterward, transforming into an eagle, the Allfather grabbed the vessel of mead and flew toward Asgard. But on the way, some of the mead spilled from the vessel. According to legend, those who accidentally found and tasted this drink became famous skalds, great poets and storytellers, endowed with the gift of inspiration and creativity. Odin himself also drank some of the mead, but the portion he later expelled from himself, according to legend, fell to untalented poets and weak composers. This myth explains why there are both great talents and mediocre creators in the world. Upon returning to Asgard, Odin poured the remaining mead into a golden vessel and entrusted it to his son, the god of poetry, Bragi. Thus, the magical drink was stored in Asgard, serving as a source of inspiration for those deemed worthy of it. In later legends, Odin is increasingly depicted as a shaman, a mysterious and formidable figure possessing not only magical knowledge but also the ability to travel between worlds, making him a symbol of wisdom, mysticism, and power. The supreme god, Odin traveled through all realms, constantly deepening his search for knowledge and truth. In myths, he is often described as a tall, slender elder with a long gray mane. He wore a dark blue cloak with a hood or a wide-brimmed hat tilted to cover his missing right eye. His single left eye, sparkling in a piercing gray-blue shade, seemed to peer into the very essence of things. In his hand, he held his famous staff, made of thornwood. Various magical items hung from his staff: bones, shells, stones, feathers, and furs, each with its own symbolic meaning. At the top of the staff, ancient runes were carved, holding hidden knowledge. As always, Odin was accompanied by his loyal companions, two black ravens, Hugin and Munin, and a pair of wolves, Geri and Freki. These creatures served as his eyes and ears, helping him observe everything happening in the world. As a shaman and sage, Odin never resorted to outright deceit or betrayal, though he often used cunning and sharp wit. His power lay not in brute force, but in his ability to astonish people with his actions and words. Instead of imposing his views, he encouraged people to think for themselves, helping them find answers and understand what was happening. This made him not only the god of wisdom, but also a mentor, teaching people to look deeper into the world, rather than blindly accepting imposed truths. Odin encourages people to laugh at their own mistakes and foolishness, for it is through recognizing one's weaknesses and flaws that one can reconnect with the divine essence. Laughter is not merely a form of self-irony. It is an act of purification, capable of opening the path to a deeper understanding of oneself and the world. Each time a person laughs at themselves, they gain a new degree of wisdom, leading to inner awakening. As we have seen, Odin symbolizes the triad of the warrior, the shaman, and the wanderer. He is not simply a god of war who fights for victory, but also a mystical shaman possessing secret knowledge and magic, as well as an eternal wanderer who constantly explores the realms in search of knowledge. In this, his complex and multifaceted nature is revealed, combining strength and wisdom, quest and self-sacrifice. This is why Odin is so significant in Norse mythology. He embodies not only the divine, but also the human drive for self-improvement. Incidentally, the ancient Germans revered Odin so much that they even named Wednesday after him Wotan's Day, Odin's Day, thereby honoring his role as the supreme god and mentor. This day symbolized special respect for his knowledge and wisdom, and to this day it remains a part of cultural heritage. This concludes our story about the Allfather. If you have any thoughts, comments, or suggestions, feel free to share them in the comments. I will certainly consider your ideas in future episodes. Your feedback is very important to me. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate your support in the form of a like. This will help me continue creating new, interesting content. To make sure you don't miss new episodes and stay updated on the most fascinating topics, I recommend subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your attention, and see you soon. Wishing you all the best.